From Mothman and Nessie to the spirit that haunts your home, welcome to Bob After Dark, a podcast about legends, lore, and the supernatural. So turn your lights down and your volume up and enjoy your trip to the shadows.
Oh, hey there, children of the night, and welcome back to Bob After Dark, the show that takes you into the shadows and goes and says hello to everything that goes bump in the night. I'm your host with the most that enjoys toast, Bob, and alongside of me, as always, is my ever wonderful, ever vampiric, ever cape-wearing, forever the heartthrob of Bob After Dark, my friend, my producer, my brother, Count Panic himself. Oh, hey there, Count Panic.
Oh, hey there, Bob. Bob, yes, here we are.
Man!
Back in the saddle. Another thrilling episode of Bob After Dark.
It's so good to be back.
It's good to be back. A lot has happened.
A lot has happened. So let me, people are probably wondering, Bob, where have you been? So let's start. I've missed 3 weeks because of various reasons, right? So week 1, sleep apnea test. They unfortunately can only squeeze me in on the Tuesday night. Good news, I don't have sleep apnea. Have you ever had a sleep study done before?
I have not. That's where they put wires on you, right?
Yeah, man. I called it the lack there of sleep study. So I went to the facility, which was really nice. I pick on them a little too much. It was a very nice, facility. The gentleman who worked on me was very pleasant. It's just for you to sleep, you have all of these wires running from your head and your neck, your fingers, your shoulders, your ankles and calf, and your thighs, right? And they're all connected to a box. So if you move your head forward, it just jerks your entire head back because you're connected to all these wires. Straight out of like the Matrix movie, right? I barely got any sleep. It was a miserable experience.
Oh, yeah.
And then the big one. Why wasn't Bob here 2 weeks ago? I had heart surgery, y'all.
Now, Bob, that's something. That's quite something. Now,
Yeah.
how are you doing? How are you
Okay,
feeling?
so good news, right? Good news is I didn't need a stent. So why did I have heart surgery? The heart surgery was there because of my heart attack I had back in May. And it's been a wild, kooky couple of months since my heart attack. One thing I don't recommend is for anybody to have one because then your life just kind of gets flipped upside down.
Try not to have.
Your life changes quite a bit when you have one, right? And mine was stress and anxiety induced. And it's really good to be back, like in the swing of things. I didn't need a stent, so my heart attack left no permanent damage. I had no blockages, which is great. I have a minor heart defect, which is extremely minor, that they found out I've had probably since birth, something called pulmonary hypertension.
Okay.
Good news, not serious. It's very mild. I'm just going to have to go probably get myself checked out by a cardiologist once a year. Not a big deal. And then why was I gone last week? Well, you see, Count Panic, I was in Denver. So post-heart surgery, had to go to Denver.
You had to go to Denver.
Had to go work NendesuCon out in Denver, Colorado. I just got back yesterday. I am exhausted. I am very tired. I've had a very stressful day. Mom's in the hospital and is now going into rehab for a broken foot that she managed to get while I was gone. So it's just been...
Our well wishes to her.
Yeah, absolutely. She's fine, everybody. She wanted to say hello, by the way. I'm extending a message from her.
Hello back.
She is very upset because this is her first time not being able to listen to the show while I'm live.
Man.
So I'm bringing her a radio because she'll be in rehab for a few weeks following her trip to the hospital here. And I will tell you, I've had the worst 2 years I think I've ever had in my personal experiences. I'm just ready for me to get on a string of good luck. So we're going to start doing some positive intentions, some
good vibes.
Yeah, some good vibes, some affirmations, all of that good jazz we're going to put forward because it's time for Bob to get his groove back.
I tell you, Bob, and we're on behalf of all the fans of Bob After Dark, I'm very happy to have you back here, Bob.
Thank you. I missed you a lot.
Yeah, we all missed, and the fans, and me and everybody.
It's just Bob After Dark's my life, right? And it's very unfortunate that between COVID and, unfortunately my father passing and now my mom and my heart attack, I just feel like the past 2 to 3 years of the Bob After Dark experience has been tainted. Oh. And it's like, you got to really like shake off the bad vibes and put forth the positive vibes. And as the Queen of the Night always says, to put the positive energy out there. So that's I have to start doing. Above all, I just really want to thank the fans. I've had a lot of outpour of cry and love and attention and affection from a lot of people reaching out to me. How's my heart surgery been? How am I doing? They missed the show, and it's like I want to give them more, but I just can't. It's hard when I couldn't drive for a week, and then I had to go to Nendesukon for a booking. So it's tough, but now that I'm home for a good stint, I'm happy to be coming home. I'm going to be hosting some ghost tours in October.
There you have it.
So I'll have that information up here relatively soon. And it's good to be back home, because this is, at the end of the day, Bob After Dark is home for me. Being around you is my, one of my few social experiences I get to have during the week. So it's good to be home, and I'm happy to be alive, because a lot of people in my circumstance, stint or a pacemaker would have been needed, permanent damage. I'm very, very lucky to walk away unscathed. I have a little scar on my inner thigh from when they did the surgery. I'm very lucky, and I'm not trying to complain, guys. I'm just trying to give you an explanation. Things could definitely be worse, but I'm happy to be here. This is my happy place, and my fan base, the Bob After Dark Children of the Night. You guys out there, you guys are what keeps me going. So I'm very blessed to be here.
And I gotta say too, Bob, I know it doesn't matter to the radio folks or the podcast folk out there, but if you're watching on Jet TV, and I could see you clearly here in your studio, you're wearing you're saying a salute to summer with a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, it's Labor Day. As we're recording this, Labor Day was yesterday. Happy birthday, Queen of the Night, by the way.
Yeah, it was her birthday
yesterday.
Happy birthday.
So happy belated birthday, Queen of the Night. Or I was with her all day. We drove in a van all the way back home.
Did you say happy birthday, Don?
Yeah, well, obviously I said happy birthday. I was the first one to wish her a happy birthday. So, but anyway, yesterday was Labor Day, and it's supposed to be the end of summer. Where we are recording this in the greater Chicagoland area, it hit 90 today.
We had several 90-degree days.
And it's going to be 90s all throughout the week.
You know what, though, Bob? I looked at the forecast. I think that's changing up a little. Thursday, I think we're dipping in the 70s. I mean,
maybe.
There's a tease for fall here. There's a tease for fall. Yes.
I don't believe it.
There's always it could always shoot back up to 90.
I'm expecting it.
Don't worry about that.
No. I don't want to jinx myself.
What's it called? Fakes, fools.
It is
the
full summer.
Full fall, right?
Full fall.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
But either way, we are in the reckoning right now, because it is hot. I still have my air conditioning going full blast.
You gotta.
And while I'm sitting here in the studio, I am actually sweating.
These bright lights.
It is warm in here.
You need a little drink with umbrella, I feel like, by you.
But either way, so that's my check-in, guys. I'm happy to be here.
Yes.
I'm happy that I'm with you, Count. You've been good?
I've been good, Bob.
Have you missed doing the show?
I did have. Compared to the past couple weeks you have, mine haven't been that exciting, I feel like. Traveling and heart surgery.
Yeah, heart surgery is great. I recommend it. That's sarcasm, by the way.
But, it's been again, surviving the summer here, trying to keep cool in this, the Chicagoland summers. But, yeah, having a great time. Winding things down, of course, as the seasons turn.
My season just winds right back up, Count.
The veil is almost at its thinnest.
The veil will start thinning over the next few weeks.
Then we got a thin veil in October, right?
And then the veil thins completely in October.
Yeah.
All the craziness and kookiness starts going
But you know what, Bob? A lot of people, right after Labor Day, this is when they start putting up some people think it's crazy. Listen, you do what you want to do, but the Halloween decorations
would you like to know when
up.
the Halloween decorations went up?
I'm guessing yours are up already.
Mine are halfway up.
You're halfway up. When'd you start?
August, like second week of August.
Right after 4th of July.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's listen, Halloween's a hunting season. Like the buying season starts July 5th.
Why not?
Look, man.
Back to school shopping starts
exactly.
after 4th of
Listen,
July.
by the way, before we continue, one last thing. Home Depot, if you're listening to this and you're looking to sponsor a paranormal podcast, your boy can use a 12-foot skeleton. That's just my quick 2 cents.
Are those back for the season?
They're back. They're impossible to find, man. I want one.
They got the werewolves too, don't they?
They do, yeah, but I want the skeleton.
You want the skeleton because you can dress up the skeleton
all year round.
Yeah.
All right. Anywho, if this is your first time ever watching or listening to Bob After Dark, we are your, I would say weekly-ish, but geez, it's been.
Well, we can.
We can. The Bob After Dark is your paranormal experience where we talk about legends, lore, supernatural, things that go bump in the night, lights in the sky, and of course, Count Panic's favorite Halloween costume that he did as a child.
Oh man, favorite Halloween costume as a child, Bob. Jeez, I have had so many. I would dress up every year. As a child, I know one of my favorites is Macho Man, but I was 21 at that age. As a child, we'll go Woody from Toy Story. Woody from Toy Story. That was a good one. Or a pirate. I was also a pirate.
You were a pirate?
Yeah, I'm trying to go for the childhood costumes, not the later Tony Panic costumes. But
my go-to would be Ghostbusters, right?
Yeah, but
I've spent thousands of dollars on that outfit.
Well, wait, did you? When you were a kid, did you do it for 1 year as a kid?
I was never a Ghostbuster as a kid, despite me being a big fan.
Yeah.
As a child, I did the same. I was the same thing every year for multiple years. I was an executioner for many years.
If it worked, it worked, right?
It worked. Yeah. I think one of my favorites is dating back to when I was like 4 or 5. My mom straight up made me a Sherlock Holmes costume.
Okay.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. If some kids are saying, "Well, geez, if you got a costume, just stick to it." If it gets interesting every year. But a lot of these days. I don't want to sound like an old man. I feel like the kids don't dress up. They just go. I
do the candy. That. I'm on candy duty a lot these days. I'm on candy.
You dress
duty.
up.
I do.
Okay.
Oh, trust me. There is an experience when you come to the Bob After Dark household for Halloween trick or treat candy, man. I go all out for it. It's a 50-50 split. Some kids still do the costume thing. And I get really excited when some kids are like, homemaking their Halloween costumes, and some just straight up wear clothes, which is fine. You know what? There's sensory issues out there in the world. If that's what it takes for you to come to the house, if you show up at any age and you say trick or treat to the Bob After Dark house, you will get candy or some kind of treat. I had a guy show up last year dressed as Pikachu, and I gave him Pokemon cards.
I remember last year, and I know the pumpkin spice lattes are out already. They've been out.
Yeah,
since
trust
August.
me.
But I remember last year you were on the big during the seat time. You were on a big hunt for the McDonald's Halloween buckets.
I ended up with all of them in one day, sir.
Are those? And I think those are coming back. This year.
I hope
if they're not back already.
If it's the same ones, I'll be a happy boy.
I think
it's
the same ones.
Okay,
I think so.
I was waiting for you to tell me they were different. I was gonna be doing a shout out to McDonald's. McDonald's, if you guys are putting out different buckets, your boy went and hunted them all down in one day. Can you just send them to me?
I wish they would bring back is those. When I was a kid, they had the
nuggets
buddies
that you dress up.
You dress up. Those were cool. I like those a lot. They need to bring those.
Those
back.
are super collectible. These days,
know, and I probably don't have any of them anymore.
Well, if this is your first time ever watching or listening to Bob After Dark, I was saying this is your paranormal experience when Count and Bob aren't just rambling about nonsense.
Well, yes.
We split the show up into 2 parts. You have the weird, spooky news of the week. That's where you, the fans, and me, the Bob, scour the internet for weird paranormal, spooky stories on news. Anything from like paranormal encounters making it to major media sources or cryptid sightings or weird advances in science that borderline on science fiction. And Count Panic is not prepared for any of them, and I dive in and we get the hashtag Panic's take on every episode, which is really exciting. And then we dive into the lore of the week. This week's lore is going to be very fascinating. I'm looking forward to it. So without further ado, Count, you ready to dive in?
I am ready.
All right, so our first news story comes to us from our old pal Tim Benall at Coast to Coast AM. He gave us our first 2 stories. This one's not so paranormal as it is a part of a legend, though. It's turned into this own mystique, and that is the disappearance of Amelia Earhart.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so a newly unearthed photo may show submerged piece of Amelia Earhart's plane. Researchers working to unravel the mystery of Amelia Earhart's baffling disappearance have unearthed a photograph featuring a peculiar formation that may be a piece of the pioneering aviator's plane submerged off the coast of an island where many believe she crashed back in 1937. The intriguing image was reportedly unearthed by the International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, or the TIGHAR. which says that it was snapped by a diver during a 2009 expedition to the island of, pardon my enunciation, Nikumaro, Nikumaro Aro. The uninhabited atoll has been long suspected of the location where Amelia Earhart's attempt at circumventing the globe came to an unexplained and tragic end over 8 decades ago. There is an object in the photo that appears to be Lockheed Electra engineer Cowling. This group's executive director, Rick Gillespie, observed. He went on the latent that the similarity to an engine cowling and prop shaft was not noticed until years later, and Gillespie indicated that his team has enlisted a forensic specialist to examine the image in hopes that they can confirm if it is a genuine piece of Lockheed Electra piloted by Amelia Earhart. Should that be the case, one imagines that a renewed search to be launched in an attempt to find and retrieve the remarkable debris. Hashtag Panic's take.
Yeah, that whole story, it's one of the great mysteries, right? Where did she really end up? A dedicated pilot like that just kind of disappears, and there's been a mystery ever since. That'd be great. It'd be nice to get some closure on the story. I know it's been decades, but it's always nice to get closure.
Are you familiar with the current theory of what happened to her?
The current theory? No.
The current theory. I'm looking up the name of them. It is actually an extremely tragic and terrifying end to the story. Are you familiar with what what's the name? The world's largest land crab, the coconut crab.
No, I can't say I'm too hip on it.
The coconut crab is as big as a garbage can.
Really?
And they're cannibalistic. They eat, there's stories that they eat humans.
Yeah.
And the current theory is that she crash landed on the beach, and a group of these crabs, unfortunately.
How do they know that?
That's just the current running theory. I mean, there's no actual proof.
Fact,
it's just,
a theory.
There's certain mysteries of the world that we've never found answers to. Whatever happened to the Cooper gentleman that jumped out of the airplane. Amelia Earhart, etc. But the current theory of Amelia Earhart was that she might have gotten eaten by the coconut crab. It's giant.
That's horrible.
These giant, things that will eat a human.
Yeah.
That might be the current running theory. If they do find the airplane though, and not her remains, that might answer the question of what happened to her. But in case you didn't know, that's the current running theory.
That's okay. Well, that's a horrible way to go out. But, again, maybe this investigation will lead further into what happened.
Yes. Our next story, once again, comes to us from Coast to Coast AM, Tim Banal. Thank you, Tim Banal. By the way, Tim, you make my life much easier, so thanks.
There you go.
So anyway, this next story, again, comes from Coast to Coast, and it is, are UFOs using volcanic portals?
Are UFOs using... Okay.
UFO enthusiasts claim to have found compelling evidence of extraterrestrial activity on Earth in footage of mysterious objects exiting the Popocatépetl volcano near Mexico City. By the way, I apologize if I butchered the enunciation of that, which I'm sure I did. Popocatépetl. Near Mexico City. Alien expert Jamie Masson shared videos from 3 months prior, which he believes depicts 2 UFOs entering the volcano's crater. Masson has suggested that this volcano might serve as an interdimensional portal, allowing intergalactic travel between 2 locations in space-time. He also emphasized that no human-made object could withstand the extreme temperatures in the volcano, which this particular volcano's interior core is about 1,832 degrees. Hashtag panic steak.
So we got to look into our volcano sources now to see if what UFO source is going on there, right? They're essentially charging ports?
Yes.
Interesting. I never heard that theory, but that's just kind of like what's being speculated right now. Well, listen, nothing surprises me with all this UFO talk going on here in the not just the country, in the world. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think we know enough about our volcanoes, so something definitely could be going on there.
Absolutely. look, anything's possible, right?
Anything's possible.
John Keel from the Mothman Prophecies always talks about this concept of a window dimension, right? Which is a place on our plane of existence that's so thin that, that's where he believes cryptids and other, weird phenomena are coming from, that they're able to jump through this, this concept of a window. So it's very possible that a window could be in a crater of a volcano in the core of it. And it makes sense, I guess. Do I want to call it extraterrestrial? Probably not. What I am going to call it, if this is the case, is extra dimensional. So it comes from another dimension, not space. Do I think that, aliens found a Stargate in a volcano? Probably not.
Yeah.
But, is it possible that something's, traveling back and forth through the lava? I suppose so. Yes, that's that story.
I agree. Hey, it's
Do you think extraterrestrials or extra dimensionals are using using volcanoes?
Somebody's got to use them, so why not them? We don't use them.
All right. Our final story comes to us from Oddity Central. Now, once upon a time ago, as some of you may know, your boy Bob here was worked in the optical field. I was a nurse for an eye doctor for several years, so I'm very familiar with the eyeball. However, I will tell you this wasn't a surgery that was offered back then, but our next story is going to be talking about keratopigmentation, the procedure that allows you to permanently change your eye color. Ever wish your eyes were blue or green? Well, now you don't have to turn to contact lenses or risky artificial iris implants to make your dreams come true. You can simply have your eyes permanently tattooed. Originally developed for a way of dealing with patients suffering from disfiguring corneal opacities, keratopigmentation, aka corneal tattooing, has seen a boost in popularity amongst people seeking a mere aesthetic change. Safety changing eye color has been long an impossible dream, but today there are actually several types of procedures that allow you to do just this. 10 years ago, the website wrote about the controversial artificial iris implant that came with provided excellent results but came with its share of health risks. Then in 2017, there was a revolutionary laser eye surgery that could change your eye color from brown to blue in just 20 seconds. Nowadays, however, it's all about the keratopigmentation, a seemingly safe procedure that uses advanced machinery and biologically compatible pigments to permanently change your eye color. A person's eye color is a genetic trait that is determined by the amount and distribution of melanin in the iris. For example, someone with darker eye colors like black or brown has more melanin, while people with light eyes like myself, colors like green and blue, have less melanin on the top layer of the iris. Only a few years ago, changing your eye color from black to light blue was nothing more than fantasy, but today, thanks to medical and technological advancement, it's not only possible, but increasingly popular. This particular procedure consists of crafting a fine intercorneal tunnel in the patient's eyes with the help of a laser and then inserting a special pigment to alter the color of the iris according to their wishes. Unlike other more complicated techniques, this particular procedure only affects the surface of the eye and thus doesn't involve complications such as hemorrhages, infections, retinal detachment, or glaucoma. This particular procedure usually takes about 30 to 45 minutes for both eyes and is completely painless thanks to the use of topical anesthetic. It's also completely reversible, so if someone has second thoughts about their eye color change, they could just go back to the original one. The purely aesthetic application of the procedure has been a topic of debates and medical studies for the last few years, but so far the general consensus among ophthalmologists and eye experts is that it appears to be relatively safe. Of course, given the relatively short time it's been used as a cosmetic procedure, it is impossible to predict the long-term effects, but most of the scientific evidence so far suggests that when done correctly, it doesn't pose serious risk to patients' eyeballs. Hashtag panics take.
Yeah, I mean, the eye color is a funny thing, and I have blue eyes. I'm very happy with them, and wouldn't want to change them. But you know what? People want to do it. They're going to find a way, I guess, to get it. I know about the tattoo in the eyeball, but that's totally different. But yeah, I mean, people love thinking about different eye colors, I guess.
Would you get it done?
No, I don't think I would.
Okay.
I think I'm fine where I'm at. You?
No.
No.
You want to know my honest to God reason why?
Just risky?
Absolutely not, man. Look, I've assisted, I've watched at eyeball surgeries in my life. Everything from removing, debris in an eye to dislodging contacts, glass eye removal, etc., etc. I've been there, done that. Eye surgery is so strange because it's your eyeballs, and the only reason you should ever get eye surgery is if you need it. Tattooing the whites of your eyes it's been a popular thing, and I will tell you that it backfires more often than not, and you can't change it back.
Yeah.
I appreciate that the surgery exists because we're getting closer and closer to this concept of like a cyberpunk future where eventually I'm going to be able to pay for all of my stuff using just my eyeball to scan like a little eyeball registration thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're getting closer to that, but man, you get one set of eyeballs, guys, and getting a surgery to change the color. I'm not knocking what you want to do. It's your body. Change what you have to change to feel comfortable. Get the colored contacts. Like I promised you, just get it done. This stuff's scary, and you get more and more closer to this concept of the more and more you can change via surgeries like that, the more and more you kind of are you losing what makes you human by becoming a cyborg? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it at all, there, Bob.
No,
I'm fine with my eyes.
I'm fine with my eyes too.
Keep my eyes.
All right, Count. You want to take a quick break?
Yeah, we'll take a break.
All right,
we got a call. I think after
we'll
the
take
break,
the call after the break.
Yeah.
All right, for our live fans, stick around. You'll be listening to me in silence, and to our podcast fans, you'll be hearing words from a podcast that you should be listening to. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Ghostly.
Pat, what are you doing?
What? I want people to know that we're a podcast that takes a deep dive into some of the scariest ghost stories.
But we don't do the creepy voices or weird sound effects. We debate the ghost stories. And aren't you supposed to be the skeptic?
I am, but they'll find that out once they listen.
Look, all you have to do is tell them to listen to Ghostly, and that our listeners get to decide which stories are real.
And which stories are just old folklore.
Exactly.
Download Ghostly wherever you find great podcasts.
Oh, jeez.
And we're back.
Yes.
Oh, hey there, Count.
Oh, hey, Bob.
What'd you do during break?
Bob, during the break, you wouldn't believe what I did.
What did you did?
Oh man, Bob, I went to see. I weighed my options for this eye thing.
Yeah.
And I tried out every eye color imaginable, and I found out I like my own eyes. So I had to. After testing several eyes, I went back to my eyes.
Oh, sounds good.
You?
I took up competitive marble playing.
Marble playing.
Yeah, I am ranked number 6 North America in competitive marbles.
Oh, I didn't know.
My patented tiger eye split shot became super popular, and I'm working my way up to becoming number 1 NA North America and becoming the number 1 marble player in the world.
There you have it. You'll be up there soon.
All right. Count, we have a caller.
We do have a caller here.
Let's take it live.
Yes, we'll take it live.
Caller, you're on the air.
Hey there, Bob. Boy, I'm glad you're
John,
back.
I have missed you, sir. How have you been?
Good. I didn't know what to do with myself the last few weeks you were gone.
Oh,
I'm putting the
jeez.
radio on. I'm listening to Bob After Dark. I don't hear them. I hear some other stuff on there. And
Listen,
it's just
John,
not
I
the
have missed it so much. I'm so happy to be back.
hey, I'm just glad that everything went all right with your heart situation, and hope that your mom gets well, and everything that you're dealing with. Sometimes it comes in bunches, as they say, but you'll get through it.
Yes, absolutely.
You'll have to. But put me on that list too about not changing my eyeballs. But you know what, my brother, he just had his second cataract surgery last week or 2 weeks ago. He had 2 within a month.
They have gotten so good with that stuff now, though, John. Cataract surgery is such a routine procedure now. That's different.
Yeah, it is. It's nothing, and he's 83, 84. He wore glasses all his life, and he no longer needs glasses. He could see perfectly. He just needs to get some
Reading glasses.
Reading glasses.
You know, they
But,
even got so advanced with that now, John, where they are built. It's still super like experimental, but when they replace out your stuff when you get your cataract surgery, you can actually get a bifocal eye, installed in your eyeball. So you're able to use it like a bifocal where you can see close and far away. Don't recommend it because I hear it's terrible, but those are advances in science that are baffling.
Yeah, but it's there if you want it. So yeah, it is amazing what like I said, 2 surgeries within a month and a half, and he could see better than he ever seen before. But but as far as changing my eye color, I don't think I'd be on that list of check me no. But yeah, the main thing is, hey, I'm glad to hear you back. Glad everything's working out okay for you now, and keep it going.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for calling in, John. I appreciate it.
All right, Bob. Take care.
You too. And
there you
we're
go.
back. Do you want to be like John and call in and
Keeps falling off.
saying things? Because you didn't come here and ask me to tie
There was no
your
time to tie it.
because you're sitting there screwing around before the show starts.
I was making sure we stayed out of the air.
It's not like that.
We're looking good here.
It's more of like a drape today versus a cape.
You're right.
But anyway, you want to be like John and call in and say things to me, 219-845-1100. That's 219-845-1100.
That Hawaiian shirt's really popping on camera.
Yeah, do you like the Hawaiian shirt?
I do.
I love...
You cut it off after a certain time, or like...
I only recently discovered my love for Hawaiian shirts, maybe like in the past year or so, because my wardrobe consisted of 2 things all year round. But once upon a time ago, flannel's been my thing since like college, right? So I always wear my flannels in the colder months. It's my favorite thing to wear. So flannels during the colder months, and then I always wear like graphic tees all year round. Then I discovered the concept of a Hawaiian shirt, and sometimes I'll wear a t-shirt, graphic tee underneath. Sometimes I just do it. I'm a little bit more comfortable with my body since my weight loss, so I'm a little bit more comfortable, leaving a button unbuttoned, do scandalous as you will, yes. By the way, I'm down 35 pounds.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. I disc golf.
Disc golf.
Disc golf.
I know we were talking to Sonny out there. Sonny is becoming hooked on disc golf.
What? Dude, why didn't you tell me
I just realized. I forgot when you said
You're
disc
the
golf.
worst.
Okay. Well, I'll hook you up with Sonny. You guys
Why don't
go
you
disc
come
golf.
out and play sometime?
Have you
ever played before?
If I do disc golf, you got to do pickleball.
I've wanted to try it.
Pickleball, tennis is I know it's a paranormal podcast, but tennis is extreme, and ping pong is kind of small, a small person's game. No, I should say small person.
Jeez,
a small game. This is in the middle. This is in the middle there, pickleball. But yeah, disc golf is catching on with all the. It's becoming
Don't say I'm young.
A young
I'm an old man.
game.
I'm an old man.
A young person's game here.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there. You ready to dive into the lore of the week?
Yes, let's dive.
Okay, so are you familiar with Stephen King?
Bob, am I familiar with Stephen King?
It took you a second. Did you have to Google search your
He's the guy that wrote all those great books. Cat in the Hat.
That's Dr. Seuss.
Moby Dick.
That's Ernest Hemingway.
Okay. Christine.
That is Stephen King. Good job.
Yes,
the Cars book, Stephen King, horror author, kind of like, top 3 probably greatest American authors of all time.
I mean, the fact that books could scare people. I mean,
legit. And then spawn, films that have lasted, decades.
Yeah.
You look at things like The Shining. Jack Nicholson's role in The Shining. It's a big deal movie, and the book, it's a timeless movie. You could go back and watch it. Or the classic TV miniseries It with Tim Curry used to scare the heck out of me as a kid. Now I'm an adult, and now the newer It movies are coming out, and we're seeing like a resurgence in all of these Stephen King movies and whatnot. Stephen King is very good about taking concepts of like lore and making it his own thing. So, Salem's Lot, the vampire stuff, like there's actual vampire lore there. There is something though that Stephen King did write about that is not, that he didn't directly take from the lore. And that is Tommyknockers.
Yeah, Tommyknockers.
Have you ever read? First off, do you read?
I read, Bob?
Do you read?
I read daily. No,
Bob,
I
don't read.
I don't know as much as like people that love to read. I'm not that big into that. I have a select books at home, but I'm not searching. I don't have time to sit there and read.
I catch an audio book once in a while.
Audiobooks are fantastic.
I've read. I read I know how to read. That makes me sound stupid.
You went to college.
I refer to my paranormal books for research. Like I have a big paranormal occult library. But leisure casual reading, I don't necessarily do very often. This past couple of years, since I've been traveling more via road for conventions and stuff, I try to get a little bit more reading in. So I read like The Gunslinger, which is like a Stephen King book, and I've read a couple other things, but I don't read a ton.
No.
But I'm familiar with the Stephen King universe via movies and stuff. Yeah. And there was a Tommyknockers TV series, miniseries back in the early 90s, and I remember watching it and being very terrified, and I was just in Denver, Colorado, and come to find out, because I didn't know about this previous to me doing research, I was traveling with Mr. Raccoon from the Paw Star universe, and he was like, "Oh, Bob, what's the spooky stories in Denver?" And I, off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you any kind of spooky tale from Denver. You got the Stanley Hotel, right? That's speaking of The Shining. But one of the biggest pieces of lore from like Denver and like the Colorado area is this concept of the Tommyknockers. And I was like, well, I'm familiar with the Stephen King, universe thing, so what's this all about? And then you do deep dive into it, and the Tommyknockers is nothing like the Stephen King stuff. Stephen King wrote them to be about aliens, but what if I was to tell you that the Tommyknockers are closer to Fae lore than they are anything else?
Yeah.
Do you want to know what a Tommyknocker is, by the way?
I do, kind of here.
Okay, so let's dive right in.
Oh, okay. Let's dive right now.
The Tommyknocker, the Knacker, or the Tommyknocker, or just the Knocker, is a mythical subterranean gnome-like creature in like certain bits of English folklore, including the Cornish and Devon folklore. The Welsh counterparts, there's different parts of like Welsh lore and English lore. It's closely related to the Irish leprechaun, the Kentish knocker, the English and Scottish brownie, which some of those I have Bob After Dark episodes on. You should go check those out. The Cornish described the creature as a little person that's 2 feet tall, with disproportionately large head, long arms, wrinkled skin, and white whiskers. It wears a tiny version of a standard miner's garb and commits random mischief, such as stealing miners' unattended tools and food. Cornish miners believe... Do you know what I mean when I say Cornish, by the way?
Like a Cornish hen?
No, buddy. I don't know what a Cornish hen is.
I think it's unrelated to this conversation.
No, what?
What's your definition there?
So you don't know what Cornish is?
No. What do you got?
What?
What do you got for me? Oh, do you now know what it is?
No, I do know what it is.
Okay.
I just thought it was funny. Like, I'm trying to laugh here because I'm like, I never heard of a Cornish hen. Cornish refers to people from Cornwall, England.
Okay.
Sorry, I was trying to stop myself from laughing.
The hens are from England too, probably.
So maybe it's the same thing.
Hen.
You realize that I'm a vegetarian, so I don't eat that stuff.
You never had I don't think I ever had a hen, now that I think about it either.
Anyway, Cornish miners believed that the knockers beckoned them toward finding rich veins of tin. As miners changed from independent family-owned operators to hired laborers for large industrialized companies, there was an increased concern for safety, reflected in the knockers' new role. They knocked on the mine walls to warn of impending collapses. Generally considered benevolent, there were also tricksters that would hide tools and extinguish candles, and they are similar to another Welsh lore creature called the Cabaloon. One interpretation holds that they are mine spirits, believed to be the ghost of miners who worked in mines in the 11th and 12th centuries. Another view is that they are spirits of those that were killed in the mine. To show appreciation and to avoid future peril, the miners cast the last bite of their tasty pastry in the mines for the knockers. In the 1820s, immigrant Welsh and Cornish miners brought tales of the Tommyknockers and their theft of unwatched items and warning knocks to western Pennsylvania. Cornish miners, much sought after in the years following the gold and silver rush, brought them to Colorado, Nevada, and California. The underground elves became part of the folklore of miners throughout the American West, not just those of Cornish background. When asked if they had relatives who would come work the mines, the Cornish miners always said something along the lines of, well, me cousin Jack over in Cornwall once come ye pay is boat ride, and so they became known as Cousin Jacks. The Cousin Jacks refused to enter new mines until assured by the management that the knockers were already on duty. Even non-Cornish miners, who worked deep in the earth where the noisy support timbers creaked and groaned, came to respect the Tommyknockers. The American interpretation of the knockers seemed to be more ghostly than elvish. Belief in the knockers in America remained well into the 20th century. When one mine closed in 1956 and the owner sealed the entrance, fourth, fifth, and sixth generation Cousin Jacks circulated a petition calling on the mine owners to set the knockers free so they could move on to other mines. And guess what? The owners complied.
Okay.
Belief among Nevadan miners persisted amongst its miners as late as the 1930s. Tommyknocker Brewery in Idaho Springs, Colorado, owes its namesake for the mystical creature and has been serving in 1994 to meet the needs of the number of large prospectors as part of the Colorado silver boom. And the knocker also appeared in the name for the same phenomena in the folklore of Staffordshire miners. So this is like a big, we talked a little bit about the fearsome creatures, which was, lumberjack lore, right? And the lumberjacks had their own lore of creatures that be out in the woods. Miners across England believed that there were these tiny elf-like creatures that hung out in mines, and we called them the Tommyknockers. Stephen King wrote about them, right? And the Stephen King universe referred to them more as like alien creatures that were a lot more deceptive.
Yeah.
These were kind, happy, creatures. However, there are different lores depending on where you're at in the world. So, what do you think so far?
Well, Bob, it's terrifying, but you said these are more happy creatures, right? So, is there anything really to worry about here?
There is. Oh. So, we're, deep diving into the Tommyknockers a little bit more. They've been around for centuries, basically as long as mining has been around. These little guys have been spotted in mines all over the world for centuries and have been accused of causing death of many miners as well as saving them. Tommyknockers are said to be small creatures, as I was saying, that live in the back of mines and even just underground below the mines. The farther back you dig, the greater chance that you would encounter one of the little creatures. When miners would hear knocking noises from deep inside the mine, they would believe that there was a cave-in, and some miners would hear that knocking and say, time to go, and they would leave the location immediately. You have to understand that once upon a time ago, labor in the world was not like it is now. Now you have OSHA regulations and tons of safety, things that are set up. Once upon a time, I'm not saying mining is an easy job now, by the way. It's not what I'm getting at. But it's a lot different than it was, 100, 200 years ago. Now there's a lot more regulations involved with mining than there once was. When Tommyknockers have been seen, it was reported that they were usually around 2 feet tall and they were often wearing miners' clothing, as I was saying before. And they are said to look similar more to a gnome and are perceived in green as color as well. They are also thought to be deceased miners who tragically died in mines. And some people also believe that they've reported seeing a glowing light following an odd mist that turned the form of a deceased miner. Wherever the creatures are, one thing is for certain, that it is never okay to ignore a Tommyknocker. Many miners believe that Tommyknockers have good intentions. They are conceived that their former mining coworkers would tap along the walls to warn them of impending dangers such as cave-ins and to get out of the location immediately, and they are thought to bring miners wealth and favor as well, so that you might hear knocking, but they also will lead you to better tin ore, copper, coal, whatever it is that you're mining. They are also known to be rather mischievous and can play pranks on miners, such as eating their lunches, hiding their tools, pinching them, and knocking their hard hats off. So if you're down in the mine, maybe you take the fictional route of this and say these things are just stories that they made up. what better way to screw with the new person that's going down in the mine with you than to warn them of the Tommyknockers? And then maybe, down in the dark, a headlamp might go off and you go up and slap one of your coworkers, hard hats off, and it's like, oh, the Tommyknockers got you. You play a joke on them. And a more disturbing theory is that they are in fact monsters who call out people's names and lure them deep into the shafts. Others believe that the knocks people here aren't that of Tommyknockers warning miners, but the little monsters chipping away at the support beams in an evil manner to cause a cave-in, doubling their population. When people think of Tommyknocker, they automatically think of Stephen King's book, although it's completely different from the actual Tommyknocker legend that haunts many minds around the world. In 1987, Stephen King wrote a fictional novel called The Tommyknockers. However, in this book, it was about aliens instead of gnome-like creatures that we're accustomed to hearing about. And then in 1993, we got the miniseries based on Stephen King's novel. It is now also being made into a movie. They're redoing a lot of the Stephen King universe stuff, so we are getting a movie in the very near future. Are you okay over there?
I'm hearing you, Bob.
So the Cornish miners were very superstitious when it came to their mining jobs. Just like lumberjacks, and their biggest thing was obviously the Tommyknocker. The Cornish described these creatures as little people who were 2 feet tall that had big heads, long arms, wrinkled faces, and white whiskers. And they believed that these men snuck into the Cornish miners' luggage before heading to America. They were very particular on listening to the knocks, as they believed that 2 knocks meant dig here or that's it, when 3 knocks meant don't dig here or it ain't here. It's no secret that miners, we were saying that the miners are superstitious, especially working in such dangerous conditions. Some superstitions include that it's very unlucky to whistle inside the mines because, according to the lore, whistling inside of a mine is very, very offensive to the Tommyknockers. Miners also usually carry extra food with them in lunch pails as a friendly offering to the creatures. And after their shifts, when the miners would go to the bar and tell stories about these things, they would make extra room for them to sit at the bar with them in case they wandered in for a drink. Miners also believed that it was bad luck for a woman to go into the mine, especially if she had red hair. Also, if a miner's clothes slipped off the hook in the changing room, it was meant that he was going to fall into a hole. Another superstition that is if a miner's lamp didn't burn bright enough underground, it meant that his wife was out with another man. So just a couple different pieces of lore that miners believed in. Legend has it that the Tommyknockers haunted the Mammy R mine, which was located near Cripple Creek in Colorado. While Tommyknockers are believed to be both good and evil, the fear alone caused countless miners to leave the mine and leave that particular mine in Colorado and never go back. Other miners who were much less superstitious worked at the mine, hoping to get rich because there was a giant silver rush in Colorado. You have the gold rush in, gold rush in California.
Big one.
People went to Colorado for silver, and people are like, Tommyknockers, who cares, right? These guys that went down there to start mining, tragedy did end up striking that mine because they didn't believe in them and they'd go down there and whistle and etc. A man by the name of Hank Bull was convinced that he heard the voice of a little boy who got lost in the tunnel. But when he went down to search for the child, the ceiling collapsed, killing him. Another death happened when a bucket fell and crushed a miner's skull. After those deaths, other miners reported seeing the ghost of these 2 men in the mine. And there were also reports of hearing whispers and seeing odd shapes moving around. The miners, who believed it was the Tommyknockers who caused all of these tragic deaths, finally decided they've had enough and left the mine. In January 1985, the mine closed for good. The Crescent Mine in Sumpton, Oregon, is also a well-known spot for Tommyknockers, and there was even a show called Ghost Mine that ran for 2 seasons in 2013, documenting the strange experiences at the location. In addition to several experienced miners, 2 paranormal investigators also joined the team in search of what was haunting the mine. The location was once a booming mining town until a fire tragically destroyed the mine in 1917. With a number of unexplained tragedies that happened to the mine, it received a bad reputation for being haunted and was closed down. It was never again reopened at the time when Ghost Mine was filmed, but eventually was put up for sale by owners. it was said that it was still around $10 million worth of gold in the Crescent Mine, so maybe it's worth dealing with the Tommyknockers and ghosts to get to the $10 million. What do you think? You think it's worth to dive in there?
I think it's worth to dive in, Bob. I think just checking out, scoping the situation, you never know what could happen, and if you're successful, then geez, you hit the jackpot. Then.
Yes. Yeah. So while most people want to stay in the good side of Tommyknockers, there is one story where a group of miners mocked the little creatures, and the end result was devastating. According to the top 10 facts about the Tommyknockers that I'm reading from here, around 200 years ago, there were 7 miners who were working in the hills of Smokeshire at a gold mine when they heard tapping sounds from deep within the mine. Instead of listening to the warning and getting out of there immediately, 3 out of the 7 miners started laughing and joking, saying that the Tommyknockers didn't exist. And they also provoked them by saying, "Come on then, Tommyknockers, show us what you can do." 4 of the miners left the area immediately, but the 3 who mocked them died in a cave-in. And the 4 who escaped also said that they actually saw these Tommyknockers as they were running out of the mine. Although it is said that there's still gold in the mine, nobody would go back in there and work because it was then sealed up. There's also stories of the Phoenix Gold Mine in Idaho Springs, Colorado. The mine was originally discovered in 1871 and has a very tragic past. 2 men were murdered close to the mine, and their remains were found of 2 people who were also buried inside. One of the 2 deceased people was found said to have been a witch who was into black magic. The owner of the mine said that the visitor told him that they had a conversation with a person who then just vanished. In fact, many people who have visited the location have reported seeing 2 ghostly apparitions of men. Another claim is that people hear their names being whispered, and many have seen the ghost of an old miner. And yes, there have been several reports of Tommyknockers who are believed to be in that mine, as well as people hearing knocks. There was an episode about this on our good pal, our old friend Zach Baggins' show. Maybe you've seen it.
Good friend, yes.
Our good friend, and they caught some interesting evidence. I will just leave it at that. And that's where you kind of run into it. Are ghost miners considered the Tommyknockers, or are they more the fairy creature? The Tommyknocker legend has been around for centuries, and many miners believe in them. It is simply coincidental that just before a cave-in they hear knocking sounds, perhaps, but it is also could be a warning from the Tommyknockers to get out. And it is a little unnerving to think that when 3 miners made fun of these creatures, they were trapped and killed in the cave-in while their coworkers took the knocking sounds as warnings and escaped unharmed. And you don't want to discredit these witnesses. You never want to do that, because they believe that they saw these little creatures running out of the mine. And that's the story of the Tommyknockers, Count Panic.
The mines, again, are full of lore and full of stories, but even the nice ones, Bob, someone you got to watch out for. But
by the way, I just want to give a quick credit to Jocelyn LeBlanc for writing the article that I was helping use for the research. But anyway, what do you think?
Bob, it's easily believable to me. I mean, little Tommyknockers, miners, what have you. I believe it all at the end of the day. Who am I to deny that? But the fact that something that could seem so nice be so evil, just kind of a good message for everyday society, don't you think? In modern day times, just be careful out there. Looks may not be what they seem.
Do you believe in them?
I believe in them, Bob.
Do you really?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. So on a scale between the man-eating gourd and the mantis man, where does the Tommyknockers fall?
Yeah, man-eating gourd. Man-eating gourd might be at the bottom. I like the man-eating gourd. It's still my favorite.
What about the pants though?
The pants,
the Fresno Nightcrawler.
This might be in between the gourd and the Fresno Nightcrawler. There, yeah.
Do you think they're helpful creatures, or do you think they're deceivious?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Creatures.
Which I'm getting out of it is they're more so they lead you in, seeming like they're friendly folk, but then they kind of turn things around, which is kind of crummy if you ask me.
Yeah.
You?
It's hard to discredit these things when they come up, right?
Yeah.
I don't like to discredit eyewitnesses, and it's very strange that, there are certain circumstances where people, have said that they've mocked them and then the mine just collapsed. I also understand, again, that, the mining industry is a very dangerous job to have, and it's very hard to do, especially back then. Mining was probably way more dangerous than it is now. Admittedly, I don't know too much about the industry, but one can assume, that it's hard work, right? And it's very dangerous. But back then, it's probably even more because, safety equipment and things weren't as what they are now.
Yeah.
So do I discredit somebody's evidence of seeing them? I don't want to. The skeptics out there might say, well, it's just all coincidence. But it's kind of funny that groups of miners all across the world have said that they've heard these knockings on the walls and such. That's and I like to pretend, that these things aren't particularly mischievous. I want to say that maybe they're there to warn people about like impending like doom. You leave them out some food and they're just going to take care of you and let you know, hey man, don't go wandering down there. There is some really cool, dark side of the lore though, where you look at it and you're like, oh man, they're calling people to go wander down, deeper into the cave just to end up going missing.
Yeah.
And then, you think even if they're not these little fairy type creatures, fake creatures, maybe they are ghosts of past miners that have, passed, and they're haunting the mines and making sure that their fellow miners are taken care of.
Yeah. I mean, that very yeah, that's believable too, Bob. But still, man-eating gourd, I still hold
You still hold
high
you're
regard,
hoping
yeah.
for?
Not the great pumpkin. It's the great man-eating gourd.
the great man-eating gourd. So
Yeah.
that's the hill you
That's
want to
the-
die
that's
on.
the
You want
one
to
I
believe
got.
that
We got to do a second episode on the man-eating gourd.
there's not much more I can tell you. You know the lore, man.
Just a follow-up. Where are they now? The
Where
man-eating gourd.
are they now? The man-eating gourd.
Yeah.
The lore's still there, man.
There you have it. Yeah.
Any closing words for our audience this evening?
Bob, again, good to be back. And folks, the veil is thinning as we speak. It's still pretty thick right now, but it's thinning here soon enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Folks, thank you for watching and listening to another episode of Bob After Dark. On behalf of me and Count Panic, we just want to say we're happy to be back. And Mom, I know you're out there. You're not able to listen, but I hope that you have sweet dreams. Tiff, no matter where you are in the world, I hope you have the sweetest dreams of them all. And Dad, wherever you are in the universe, I hope you're happy, comfortable, and doing it at whatever it is that you're doing. Good night, everybody, and remember the two most important rules of Bob After Dark are: not all who wander are lost, and as above, so below. Until next time.
Memoriam Development.
Gold.